Hello, everybody. Going to go live a little bit early. Appreciate those of you who have signed on to come on a little bit earlier than my normal start time. Lots of competition for time tonight. So it is what it is. So I appreciate those of you who are joining me tonight, and we'll see what happens with some of the other shows that are taking place right now. We've got a specialty sale tonight, which seems to have thrown a few people off as I was promoting it. So probably didn't do the best job explaining what it was going to be, but it's also a relatively short sale. I've decided out of necessity. I was so far behind over the last 2 weeks trying to get shipments out. One of the last shipments went out yesterday from my last sale. One of them didn't even go out because I had a problem with the paperwork on it. So this is one of those cases I needed a little bit of a catch-up period. So I'm doing a little bit of a smaller sale, some really fun things, but it's not going to be as long as traditional sales. It'll probably still take forever because I'm a talker, but I definitely have fewer items. So hopefully I can get them all out in a reasonable time. I felt horrible the last couple of weeks for those of you who have been gracious enough to purchase from me, that it's not that I did not appreciate your business. I literally, this is a difficult time, a busy time, not difficult, well, a little difficult, busy time for me in my work, my daytime job. So that's been exceptionally stressful, plus the opening of my new booth space and then the grand reopening of my other booth space. It's just week after week after week. I've just had something that is kind of dogpiled onto everything else. And a couple things started to suffer, and one of them was shipping. So invoices were going out later than they've ever gone out before, but everyone has been great. Everyone has been gracious. I do really appreciate that. So again, I had a couple specialty bins that I was building up to kind of figure out what the next sale would be. This one was relatively small. I'm like, you know what? Perfect. So I still have, I think it's 25 items plus the bargain bin. So I have the bargain bin again. So it's still a decent sale, but it'll be a mix. So again, appreciate those of you who signed on early. I got a couple of new names, so I'm always excited to see new names. So Angela Marksbury, I think you might be new, or maybe I just hadn't seen you. Sometimes I get lost in the chat trying to run the sale, so I apologize if you've been here before. I might have missed you, but welcome regardless. D of Thrill of Thrift is here. Now, I will also be announcing, well, actually it's running across the screen right now. We will have my next four seller one sale. Vintage sale is next week. It's always the third Thursday of the month. And D is going to be part of my next sale. She was scheduled to be in one a couple of months ago, and there was a scheduling conflict, and this was the first chance I had to be able to schedule her back in. So really excited to have D joining us next week from Thrill of the Thrift. And then also anyone who might have seen my deep dive on swizzle sticks, that was with Rebecca from Kitschy and Bitchy. She is just starting to launch her YouTube channel. She actually had a YouTube channel. She just wasn't doing anything with it. So she's trying to build that up, and she is going to do her first live sale. Will also be next week as part of the group sale. So that'll be with D. Then Rebecca will be part of it for her first one. And then Kelly from Moss Stone Story is also going to return and do a live sale as well. What I've been primarily trying to focus on are people who don't already have weekly sales. D's coming in a little bit special because again, it was originally a scheduling issue, but I'm really happy to give a platform for people that are, to be perfectly honest, struggling to get into the calendar. This is a great vintage community, and everyone is super gracious, and no one wants to step on each other's toes. But that also means we're running out of slots in the calendar. So thrilled to be able to offer one of my nights. It also turns out to be a night that I don't end up selling as many items, so I don't have as much to ship. So I get a little bit of a breather. So that's always, again, a bonus for me. So that's what's going on next week. So next Thursday, the four seller one sale, vintage sale, that's the 17th. That will be with D, Thrill of the Thrift, Moss Stone Story, and Kitschy and Bitchy. All right, we've got Melody is on tonight, and she has already thrown down the gauntlet that this is her night. These are her items. She is a vintage sewing expert collector. So she has buffed up her internet, and she is making sure she is going to be the first one to jump on. So I believe a challenge has been issued, and you guys all have to be up to the task. Welcome back to Pete from Pete's Repeats. Thrilled to have you here. Katie, always supporting all the sales and all the channels. Great having you here, Katie from Vintage and Vinyl. I was talking about our deep dives. Katie, if you're not familiar with my deep dives, she did the very first one with me. So if you're not a subscriber to her channel, Vintage and Vinyl, she did a deep dive on typewriter ribbon tins, and that's in my playlist. But then she does all kinds of other collections, and of course, talks about albums and LPs. She'll be doing a deep dive on LPs later this month. So I'll be talking more about that, and definitely want to support her channel. Lately, she has been reading some erotica from one of her books. So, and thank you to Nia for joining us. Thank you for reminding everyone to do the thumbs up. I appreciate any support you guys want to give. I am thrilled to have reached my 1,000 subscribers. I reached the 1,000 subscribers almost exclusively because of these live sales. So I do totally appreciate when everyone gives me a thumbs up. It just shows that you still support me, that I don't lose all my subscribers, that people are still interested in what I have to say. And it looks like, Melody, you're going to have some competition. Laura Bemos from Bemos Mercantile has stated she will get what she wants. Now, you have a little bit of a benefit because Laura is at her professional pool tournament tonight. So she's going to have to try and bid in between or nab items in between her shots. So you might win out on that. And also for those of you, I saw a couple new names. I made a slip there. And I don't know why I made a slip, because I never do auctions. I never do bidding. So I don't know why I use that term. So just be aware, if you are new to my channel tonight, the sales pretty much have started leveling out to, they run the same up across just about all the channels. So if you've seen any live sales, you've seen the way that I will be running mine as well. The difference is I do not do any auctions. Those who do auctions, there's nothing wrong with that. But so just keep that in mind, that when you're looking at an item, when I show it to you, I will give you the description. I will then give you the item number. It is the traditional means, the first person to claim that item in the live chat. And it is the first person that we see on our end. So just be aware of that. That's caused some concerns or problems in the past. When the first person we see is the person that will claim that item. So we do not have there's a lot of different cutesy names for it. We don't do any bidding. We don't do any auctions. So just keep that in mind, that you really do need to make sure you're refreshing your feed. You may not realize you're buffering, but you might be buffering. And the way to know if you're buffering is if at any point you see numbers starting to hit your chat before I say it out loud, it means that somehow you've fallen behind. So just hit refresh. You can close out of YouTube on your phone and open it back up again. On your PC, just hit the refresh button. It both does the same thing. You can start buffering without even knowing it. It doesn't require it to be a spinning circle for a long period of time to really have it make a difference. And if you do a lot of refresh, you really do have just as equal a chance as everybody else to get access to it. So I encourage you to be able to do that. So we've got some Kim from Oh My Vintage has come back. Excellent to have Kim back. I think I might have said hi to Judy already. Oh, Grace is back. Okay, wait a minute. Grace is the dog. So Dana, I believe, is the name. So mother of Grace. So welcome back. That Randy Heilman, excellent. Poodle is on. Why did I pick that chat to pop onto the screen? So welcome, Poodle. Michelle from Comfy Cozy Living. Excellent. Thank you so much. Michelle has her sales during the day on Thursday. So she's usually tuckered out by the time my sale runs Thursday night. But again, she is a great channel to follow. She has not yet hit her 1,000 subscribers. So always, great to be able to reach out and support each other. If you are interested in vintage reselling or just vintage items, she does some great haul videos. Definitely check out Michelle, and she does her sales Thursday at, I want to say 1 p.m. Eastern, but I wouldn't swear to that, so I apologize. Michelle, you can throw that into the chat if you want to clarify when your sales are. I do try and promote everyone else's channels, and it's hard because since technically she's the last one in the upcoming week, sometimes she misses a shout out. So thrilled to be able to shout her out. Corey's here. Excellent. Glad to have Corey back with us. Ferns Fines is here. Fantastic. Michelle, 6 hours and 20 minutes? That's insane. Holy cow. Okay, well, congratulations on, is that a record? It's got to be damn near a record. You will not have a 6-hour sale with me tonight. In fact, hopefully this will be one of the shorter ones because I don't have as many items, but we shall see. A little bit of, as if you joined early enough, I commented, it's a little bit of a specialty item tonight. And yeah, wow, Michelle, is it? it's a little bit of it's a specialty item tonight, but that also means the return of the bargain bin. And so we'll see, how long it takes us to go through. I do feel I've got some fun items. Just another name that I wanted to throw up because I think this might be a new one. So hi, Tammy. Thanks for joining. You might be a new name for me. Retro Ruby. I think I've seen your name before. People change names all the time. It also throws me off. So I either seen you in my chat or I might have seen you some other chats, but regardless, I'm going to go ahead and get things started. Again, please make sure that you are refreshing your screen so that you have the ability, if you want to claim an item, again, it's the first person on the screen that we see. And I will give a verbal shout out of who we are seeing on our end. And if there's any questions, there's always possibility of errors. There's definitely the Huckster Hecklers will definitely be keeping us honest. So if at any point we claim somebody won that is not the first person that everyone else sees in the chat, you will have plenty of support. So you might be the first person. You might see yourself as the first person. That's actually fairly common because you're connected to your own internet. You'll see yourself fastest. So you may want to refresh yourself. And then typically it'll go back in the order. And if at any time there's a real serious question about it, or, we do not want fights, this is all for the fun of it, there's always the ability of going back and us rewatching the chat, which I did have to do last week because there was a question about one of them. So it takes a couple hours for the live chat to populate. But there's always a way to do it. No, unfortunately, my daughter, the Huckster Heckler, you guys are the Huckster Hecklers. The Huckster helper is not with me tonight. She is still ensconced in college, and I'm basically giving her the grace. If she ever wants to join me again, she can, but I want her to have her college experience. And so I am letting her, she's not at college, for those of you who might know who she is, but haven't heard the story. Her school did go fully remote, but instead of shuttling between her mom's house and my house for another semester like she did all summer, she got an apartment with 3 of her girlfriends, and they're not on campus, but they're in the state of Pennsylvania. And that is where they are kind of hunkering down, social distancing or whatever in their own little pod so that they can still do a little bit of college life, but they're at least away from home. So that's the way this semester is going to go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get things started. Tonight's specialty theme is vintage sewing, and I took some liberties of the definition of that. So hopefully everyone enjoys what I've got to offer. But the first is a fairly traditional definition, and it is a pair of thimbles. So one of them is a porcelain thimble that has a cardinal on the top and has a little hand-painted birdhouse. Sorry, I need to try and get rid of the message there. Has a little hand-painted birdhouse on the front. This one is not marked in any way. There's no sign, there's no label, there's nothing on the inside. So you've got a little cardinal porcelain, and then this one is a little wood thimble, but it's got the little string wrapped around it with the seagull on it. So you've kind of got the wharf look going on. So you've got the rope around the, what do you call that? Not the pylons, but whatever they do at the side of the side of the dock. So you got a little decoration. This one also, there's no signature, there's no label. So age-wise, I do not know how old these are. I do think they have a little bit of age to them. The rope is glued onto it, and you see there's a little bit of discoloration from the glue. So again, I think there's a little bit of age to these, but it's a pair of thimbles. You can have them for $5. Sorry, before they fall off my fingers. You can have them for $5 by giving me number 23. So number 23, $5 for the cardinal and the seagull thimbles. All right, so I've got THMercantile is the first that I see for the pair of bird thimbles. All right. This is where I got a little bit, I can do my own definitions. So this is a table runner, but I put it into the vintage sewing because I do feel that this is something somebody did on their own. the strips appear to be machine made or purchased. Like, I don't think that's not considered rickrack, but that trim is something that you would purchase. But then somebody went through and actually put this all together, overlapping them. And the edges are still relatively, they're kind of raw. Like when they put it together, they just trimmed off the edges. So I think this is handmade, because if it was machine made, I think the edges would have been serged a little bit cleaner. So but I don't know. There's no labels or anything on this, and it's a fairly decent size. So you've got a fairly long table runner you're going on here in very good condition. I mentioned that the edges, they're not particularly, again, not like super machine clean, but they're also not fraying. They're not falling apart. There's no loose stitching. All of the individual squares appear to be actually held together fairly well. I don't know the age on something like this. We're not talking about super age, because I don't think that type of trim work is necessarily like super, super old, but I'd be guessing this is maybe 80s or 90s. And it's primarily like an off-white, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of a darker brown that runs through it in a couple of the places. But from a distance, you're really looking at like an off-white, but up close, you're definitely seeing a little bit more of the coloration. So it's excellent condition. Definitely a table scarf, a table runner, dresser scarf, however you want to use it. It is available for $7, and $7 tatted. I've heard the word tatting, but I'm not sure if that's what that's considered. I don't know. So anyway, it's $7, and you can have it by giving me number 37. $7, number 37 for the trimmed, sewn together scarf, table scarf. And I've got a new name. I've got Margaret Matthews is the first that I see. So Margaret, if this is the first time, you don't just happen to be a name from somebody else that I don't recognize. Let me switch my banner really quick. You can send me an email to the email address that's scrolling across the bottom, thmvintage@gmail.com. Do that at some point, during the show, after the show, whatever the case. Just give me your shipping address, mailing address, because all the prices I'm giving are without shipping. So if you bought from me before, I can usually figure it out. But if you're buying from me for the first time, you need to contact me first, because I have no way of finding out who you are. So send me an email, give me your shipping address, and I will send you the invoice, and everything will go from there. All right. Next item, I'm going to go back to we'll see how well this goes, going back and forth to traditional versus non-traditional. But this is going back into a traditional. It's one of my favorite pieces for the sale. It is a vintage needle case. So this one is, okay, Heather must be here from Plus One Thrifting. So hello, Heather. So this is a little needle case looking like, what's the, hey, Nicole. What's the, now I can't think of the name of the movie, the Handmaid's Tale. No, okay, this is probably more of an Amish look, but it's a little girl in her little bonnet. You can't see her face, a little bit of a, little muff, and then her little frilly, underskirt. And you open it up, and it's got the little flap to hold your pins and primarily needles. So yeah, Little Red Riding Hood. There you go, Auntie Christy. So you've got the little red cape, the black bow that's sewn onto it. It is in absolutely pristine condition, which makes me a little worried that it may not be as old as I hoped it would be. But this rosette, I think, is what indicates that there's a little bit of age to it. So I'm not 100% sure. Sunbonnet Sue, is she normally in blue? Yeah, so I'm not, I know who Sunbonnet Sue is. But I wouldn't, I don't know. I like the idea that she's Little Red Riding Hood, although she's like a little bit more decorated than that. It's just a simple, so Nicole's saying it is Sunbonnet Sue. So, okay. I didn't think Sunbonnet Sue had a cape, because this is definitely a cape, but who am I to argue? Anyway, it's a needle case. It's a chick in a cape with a big hat. Whatever you want to call it. It is a needle case. It does come with a handful of needles in there. It is handmade, which you can tell based on the stitch work on the back side. It's very uneven. So this was something that somebody made by hand. It is fairly thick. I don't know if you'll be able to tell there, but it's two pieces of, I believe it's wool put together. So there's a front and a back. So it makes it a little bit thicker, but you can kind of see the thickness there. So it's not, I do think it's wool that has been felted, but it's not felt. I mean, it's not roving or anything like that. So you've got the little Sunbonnet Sue / Roller Red Riding Hood needle case. It's $6. $6 for the needle case, and that is number 86. $6, number 86 for the little needle case. All right, and Triple S, you don't have to talk about feeling somebody up, felt up. I got the joke. So that 86, the needle case goes to Joanne Baber. All right, congratulations, Joanne. All right. One of the items that I wanted to show is actually one of the things that triggered, no, I'm not going to say triggered, but it was one of the impetus to actually do a sewing or a vintage sewing sale. This admittedly is not vintage, but for those of you who've not watched my show before or have watched my show and my channels and just never picked this up, my ex-wife and I used to own a quilt shop. We did that for 10 years, and we sold it prior to the divorce. And as a very bizarre settlement from the divorce, I received the assets from one specific portion of the business. And that is a set of patterns that we had purchased from another art designer. So these are, and so I've got a couple of them that I'm going to include tonight just to see, how people like them. What these are, they're called picture quilts. So you get the pattern. In this first one, we're going to do the pattern that makes the eagle. And this is what you make. So this quilt is not for sale yet. Someday it might be, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I probably have about 100 of these. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of them individually. But to start things out, what I'm doing is and you can kind of tell the size as I try and lift this up. This is a fairly sizable wall quilt. And it's basically the way these picture quilts are done is the pattern gives you the layout of how the pieces of fabric are to be cut, and then you sew them down and stitch over them. So the idea behind this is ideal if you are a quilter or a sewer or do any sort of that on your own, because what you're primarily pulling from are scraps of fabric. You can see they're relatively small, that you kind of color coordinate, figure out the best way to lay them out to create the finished design. So this one is, all of them are designed in the same way. So you would have the backdrop, you would then glue the individual pieces of fabric onto there, and then you stitch them down. So this first one that I'm offering is the eagle pattern. So I will just say I'm selling them for less than we sold them for in the shop because I'm curious to see how you're going to do. And I would say I agree, Katie. They are quite a bit of work, although the people that knew how to do them could crank them out pretty quickly. So it really became the art form of like doing the color coordination. And you can kind of see, even these are all photographs of quilts that were done, that this one's slightly different than the one that I've got the sample of, but they're similar. And so what's nice is when you get into some of the pets, you can change the color schemes to be able to match your own dog or your own cat or something like that. So what I'm starting off with is the eagle. I'm selling it for $6. I do have more than one of these. So this is a case where everyone who wants one, most likely, unless you're crazy and you all want them, not that you're crazy, that you go crazy and all of you want one, I probably have a couple dozen of this pattern. So if you want one, even if your internet's not fast, you can still have it because it's $6. And again, you're getting the pattern, which is all of the template information inside to sew it together. You're getting it for $6. And that's by giving me number 40. So for number 40, the first, like I say, probably 1 to 2 dozen people. If there are multiple people are interested, you'll all get one. So I'll do a screenshot if there's more than one. But that is the first picture quilt that I am offering. So we've got Stacy Brinkley as the first taker. And so she gets one of the eagles. And make sure that that gets passed on to Stacy. Brooke Lagan is taking one as well. And appreciate, and so anyone who wants the eagle, it's number 40, just throw it in there. I have plenty. You will be able to, the first 20 to 24 will definitely be able to get one. Blue Flamingo, I do have others. I'm going to be showing 2 more tonight, and we're going to see how they go. I might turn it into an Instagram sale. I might just do a pop-up sale of all of them. The problem that I'm running into is the ones that I pulled were ones that had a lot of patterns for them. Some of them I'm down to only literally like 1 copy, and we're trying to figure out with myself, my ex-wife, and my daughter, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with these. Technically, they're mine. The quilts themselves, as Katie mentioned, there is a lot of work being put into them. We, at one point when we were selling the business, we did try to consider selling this as an entity. Just the quilts themselves, we were pricing at around $200 to $250 a piece, just for that size. So it gets a little pricey. So what we have to figure out is for the patterns that we're running out of, do I get them reprinted? Because you have to do a minimum. So there's expenses for that. I do have a series of cats. I have a series of a lot of different dog breeds. There's about 20 or 30 different dog breeds. So I'm trying to get that figured out in time for the Dachshund fundraiser in November, because one of them is a Dachshund. So I want to do something with that. So if you have a specific request, drop me an email. And if I have something, if I only have 1 or 2, I can sell it individually that way. Drop me an email. Don't do it here in the chat because I will lose the chat. So just go ahead and drop me an email if the email is running across. If you've got a specific dog breed or a specific cat, I think I've got like a Himalayan, a Siamese. I've got a couple different, and I'll just go ahead and do one of the next ones I've got. I also have a flamingo. So the flamingo looks like this. Also fairly large size. So if all of you want to, get together and you can all make Jeffrey a flamingo quilt. So again, it's a fairly large size. So the pattern will be for the piecemeal of how you do the feathers of the flamingo. So he's full, I would say probably 2.5, 3 feet tall, bent down, taking a drink of water. The fabrics, like the border is just a batik fabric. Yes, I do know what a batik is because I ran a quilt shop for 10 years. So you can do whatever backgrounds, whatever patterns, whatever types of fabrics you want. But I'm assuming with a flamingo, you're probably going to stay in the pink family. But the flamingo is available as well. It's also $6. So you get the pattern. It's $6. So if you want the flamingo, he's $64. So the flamingo is $64. And I don't know if it's one of those cases for those of you who do handcrafts. It is very difficult to do anything as a gift of this caliber because you end up running into people that don't appreciate it. As bad as that sounds, it's, that they just don't realize how much time and effort and money can go in. I mean, this is one of those cases. If you make a king size quilt, the fabric alone is hundreds of dollars, and not even counting how much time and what you put into it. So it's making some of these as a gift. Says Jeffrey would like to have somebody Barb says Jeffrey has said he wishes someone would make him a flamingo quilt. So this is a quilt hanging, but hey, you could all do a piece of the quilt and then somebody could sew it all together. So I've got Stacy Brinkley, Vintage Conversation. I think that might be a new one to me. So welcome, Vintage Conversation. So just make sure you send me your email. Brooke Lagan, Blue Flamingo Mercantile. Okay, so the flamingo is a little bit more popular. And I have plenty of those. And I'll just go ahead and whip out the third one. The third one that I have, unfortunately, I can't find the sample of it, which is odd because I'm supposed to have all of them. I'm supposed to have one for every quilt pattern. So I don't know if it ended up in a different box. But the last one is the penguins. And I think he's the cutest one, personally. I mean, flamingos are fine. But this one is one of those I could actually see putting this out at wintertime. You know, you put a little Christmas wreath around each of their necks, and you've got yourself a little Christmas quilt. So this one is the finished size of this is 17 by 22. So size-wise, it's a little bit smaller than the other ones. But this also just gives you an idea. For those of you who are sewers, this might mean something. It gives you the suggestions of how to do it. So you're saying take 3 to 4 white prints, 3 to 4 black prints, some scraps of yellow and orange, because the yellow and orange are really just going, you know, near their heads and at their beak. So you really, these are great projects for people that already are sewers and would just have, you know, yes, there's some batiks in here and some specialties, but if you have a cotton fabric, it's going to work. So, you know, it's relatively simple in the requirements area. It's just the time of being able to cut it all out, laying it all down, and then stitching it all together. So, and you don't actually have to know how to sew, Katie. You, to be perfectly honest, you have to know how to run a sewing machine. That's about it, because really you're just kind of meandering over the surface of it. It's not even sewing seams at this point. So you probably want somebody to finish it for you, but that's fairly easy. But or it'd be fairly easy to find someone to finish. It's not easy to finish, but it's fairly easy to find somebody. So again, another one, $6. And the penguins are numbered 95. So if you're interested in the penguins, I apologize, I don't have the sample to show you, but that's what it looks like. 17 by 22, number 95, $6. Stacy Brinkley is going to go to town making these and have a blast. So we got Stacy Brinkley, Randy Heilman, Brooke Lagan. We've got some heavy duty sewers. They're going to make these together. Jenny X. So that is great that you guys are picking those up. And like I said, if you have interest in other types of, you know, dogs or cats, I have a hippo, I have a wolf, I have all kinds of different things. And you know what, I'm just going to kind of clear through these because there's only 2 other things that I've got. I didn't want to like overrun the sale, but these are books that were created. Again, the business that we bought was the Dog Lady. That was her brand name. And so she created all of these patterns. We then we rebranded them. The patterns we rebranded to be under our quilt shop, which was Prairie Shop Quilts. The books, they were the books. Like they had already been printed. They already had her logo on there, her name. We just basically, I think I only have these 2 left. So this one is The Dog Lady Celebrates Christmas. So it's the same concept, but this one they're starting to do little vignettes. So this one's like a sheep looking at the Star of Bethlehem. You've got the animals in the manger. You've got an angel. You've got the 3 wise men. So if they're all the same concept, you get a lot more patterns in the book, which is always the case. If you ever do quilt books or a lot of like group books, you get a lot more when you buy them as a set, because there's going to be some that you probably don't want, but you can kind of see it's got the size of what you're cutting out. It's just folds out of the book. So again, makes it fairly easy to follow instructions. This one happens to be the Christmas book. And this one, the patterns were individually $6 a piece. You can get this entire set of patterns as a book. And I do only have the one. So we'll see who races to the internet to claim this one. But if you want the Christmas one, it's a $9 book, and that is number 46. So 46 gets you the Christmas, the Dog Lady Celebrates Christmas books. And I apologize, it sounds like some people were losing me. I've been here the whole time. And Stacy Brinkley gets the Dog Lady Christmas book. So she's got the fast internet tonight. So that book will be on your way. And then this will be the last item in this category. I hadn't planned on putting them all together, but this one is the Dog Lady Speaks. And this includes all of these patterns. So you've got the Airedale, the Cairn Terrier. Somebody here has a Cairn Terrier, remember. Beagle, I think Greg, I don't know if Greg's here tonight. The Bichon Frise, Border Collie, Border Terrier, Boxer, Brittany Spaniel, Bulldog, Cocker Spaniel. Those can't all be in here. Hold on, that might just be what she includes. So, okay. Here's the projects. I was like, that was way too many. All right, so here's the projects. the Jack Russell Terrier, the Min Pin, the miniature pincher, the pug. We're talking to you, Katie. We got the pug, the Sheltie, the Shih Tzu, and the Persian cat. So all 6 of those patterns are in this book. Same thing. You've got the instructions, with the individual pieces for laying out. You just happen to get multiple patterns within it. So what a lot of people that we knew did these, they would make these at craft shows, things like that. They would make these in bulk. So again, once you get good at it, you can actually crank these out fairly quickly. So when you get something like the book, you've got 6 different types of dogs that you can make. If you're buying it for yourself, like if Katie, if you were to get this, you'd probably make the pug, and the other patterns would probably not get used unless you want to rip the book apart and sell it for parts. But this book, again, I do have a lab, but as an individual pattern. So if you're like the lab, send me an email and I'll sell it to you for $6. But so this one, the Dog Lady Speaks book, is also $9. $9 for the Dog Lady Speaks, and that is number 31. So 31 for the Dog Lady Speaks, and that is $9. And you hit on the head. Like, one of the problems is that Crafty Jackie is when people have mixed breeds. These tend, and all of the patterns tended to be purebreds. You could sometimes like fake it. So it looks like Brooke Lagan wins the Dog Lady Speaks book. You can sometimes fake it by changing the type of fabric you use, but the way the dogs are made is really more along the lines of the purebred, which is great for some people, but not great for everything. So very strong believers in rescue. So it makes it a little bit tough sometimes, but there definitely is a market for these, and congratulations to all of you for picking those up. And again, if you have any interest in the other breeds, just drop me an email. I'll check to let you know what I've got available. And if I've got them, you can have one for $6. All right. If Elderly Poodle's still on, I've got my Poodle project for tonight. He's a French Poodle, and you can tell that because he has a beret. So this is a finished needlework project. So this is a wine bottle cover. You do not get the bottle. I'm sorry. I don't even have a wine bottle. This is a whiskey bottle, so I had to be creative. But this is I would definitely say vintage, based on the gold rickrack that went into the bottom of this, and also just based on there's a little bit of discoloration at the shoulder from when it was stored. So this definitely, yes, Pierre, the French Poodle, is here, and he is adorable, and he is a bottle cover. So this part, I just ripped his head off. So this part comes out and obviously just kind of slips on. The bottle cozy slips on from the top. So you've got the wide opening at the bottom, the little neck of the body, so you can just slide it right on. So, I mean, I would say it's designed to go on a wine bottle. This happens to be, what does this happen to be? A 2 Gingers whiskey bottle that I felt was about the right shape. So as long as you've got a tall, thin bottle, this would go on just about anything. So you've got the Poodle. You've got the French Poodle, the crochet? I think he's crocheted. I don't think he's knitted. I think he's crocheted, although what do I know? I ran a quilt shop. So this is the French Poodle crocheted wine cozy. He's $12. So $12 for the French Poodle cozy, $12 by giving me number 87. So if you would like Pierre, and he has the little tail in the back, if you would like Pierre, number 87, $12 gets you the wine bottle cozy. And it looks like that goes to Helen Casey. So congratulations, Helen, for picking up the wine bottle cozy. All right, going into traditional sewing again. This is a piece that I thought was really cool, and I had already decided to do a vintage sewing theme. So when I saw this, I figured I had to pick it up. It's no, Michelle, sorry, no whiskey comes with it. You just get the dog. This is an item that I had picked up. When I saw it, I'm like, okay, I need to pick this up, and not really thinking that I then have to ship it. It's not heavy. It's just kind of an odd, large size. And what it is it's kind of like a Sewing Notions center. So you've got the places to put the spools of thread along both sides. You've got a little drawer in the bottom to, you know, to put in whatever you would like. You basically have in oh, I want to say embossed. That's not right. Upholstered. You have an upholstered seat and a back, which you could use as a pin cushion. Now, this is a very large pin cushion. So I will admit, if anybody knows, you know, if this is also supposed to hold something else, I mean, this is large enough to hold a doll. I don't know why you would want a doll staring at you while you were sewing, but it's a rocker. You can see it's curved in the bottom. I don't know, Katie, I don't know if this was handmade or not. It's got, so when the drawer comes out, you can tell that the way it was painted, they just painted the front of the drawer. It does have some age to it. It's fairly well done, but there is no maker mark. There's no stamp. There's nothing on here that would indicate this was machine made, but it's very well upholstered. It's very evenly done. So push come to shove, I would say this might be more of a machine made, you know, maybe a production piece, but I honestly don't know. I just thought it was cool. I thought the fabric that they put on here was kind of a fun, and it was a fun combination because it's kind of running true to its color. It's maybe a little bit more of a greenish blue, like more of a, not quite a teal, where on the screen, the way I'm looking at it, it looks more like a blue. So anyway, so you've got this, you know, fairly large piece, but it's not very heavy, so it shouldn't cost a lot to ship. I just thought it was kind of a fun, something a little bit different for a vintage sewing themed evening, and you can have it for $10. So $10 for the vintage sewing chair, rocking chair, by giving me number 81. So 81, $10 for the vintage rocking chair with the little drawer. All right. This is one of my favorite pieces. Looks like Margaret Matthews is getting the sewing chair. So thank you for Margaret for picking that up. If you follow me on Instagram, I did some sneak peeks. I didn't do very many of them because I'm falling behind on everything. But this is one that I did do a sneak peek of, and it's one that got a lot of comments. And it is a sewing owl accessory. So you've got this porcelain owl that has a place in his beak to hold a pair of scissors. This is not the pair of scissors that came with it, but when I found this size, I feel that is probably the size that would be in there, because much larger, like right now, it kind of looks like he's got glasses on. Much larger than that, I think they would stick up too much. So this is just a small, you know, one of those embroidery pairs of scissors that trims really close. He is not a winking owl. He does have both eyes open. So sorry, Barb, I have not found your new mascot, but he is an owl, and he is in absolutely wonderful condition. There's no chips, there's no cracks. There's maybe a little bit of crazing along the edges, but nothing notable. The front part of it is the pin cushion. It is an older pin cushion. It's the original fabric, so it's a little stiff. So you can see there is a needle that has gone in there. The owl itself, I make sure the scissors don't fall out, it doesn't have any mark. So I don't know if it once upon a time had a mark. I'm not really sure. There's nothing embossed. There's no sticker. There's no label. There's nothing on the back. There, I would say it has the feel of a Japanese piece, a made in Japan piece, but there's no markings or anything to indicate that. There's something like right there at the bottom on the edge that I thought was trying to say something, but I think it's really just the way they try to do the wood grain in that little spot. So from what I can tell, it is not marked. It's a pretty cool piece though, and I lost the tag for it. I really like it. And again, this was one of those cases that it helped bring together the entire idea of a vintage sewing night when I find things like this. So it got put into the basket and came out now because of the sale. So you can have the vintage sewing owl for $12. $12 for the vintage sewing owl by giving me number 28. Number 28, $12 for the vintage sewing owl, including, and I will, the scissors are included. I found them separate, but I will definitely include those when I ship that out. And it looks like Barb of Winking Owl Antiques is the one who gets it. So congratulations, Barb. Maybe you can put a patch over his eye and then he's winking. Get creative, make him your mascot. I'd be thrilled to see that. So that was the owl. Sewing owl goes to Barb. All right. Going back to also some more traditional. This is another pair of thimbles. This is a pair of, at some of these points, I'm going to drop these. I'm going to break one of them. But these are 2 porcelain thimbles that have been hand painted. So you've got both of them are floral designs. So you've got this one. It's painted on all around daisies, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. And now that I look at it, are they supposed to be like that? I don't know if those are supposed to be stems, so they painted it upside down. I'm not sure. So there's that one, and then this one has much more of an earth tone going to it. I think this one's beautiful. So they've got the painted off-white bisque of the background of the thimble itself, and then they did kind of these taupe colored flowers, maybe looking a little bit more magnolia-like on these, and then they even did the trim down at the bottom. They're just 2 sweet little thimbles. They could be functional because they do have the holes in the top. That's an area that I never mastered. I have sewn. I considered putting a quilt that I made in the sale, and I decided not to because it wouldn't sell for anywhere the way I'd want it to. I'd want it to go for. But I know that different thimbles, the way they have the little nubs, handle different types of needles. So I'm not sure what these were necessarily designed for, but they're decorative. I'm not even sure if they were designed to be used. So this is a pair of hand-painted porcelain thimbles, no marks or signatures or labels or anything. You get the pair of them for $4 by giving me number 55. So $4, number 55 for the 2 floral porcelain thimbles. All right. String, it looks like Crafty Jackie was the first to claim that one. So congratulations to Crafty Jackie. Straying a little bit to a wider definition of sewing. I found this over the weekend and I just thought it was kind of cool. And I was looking for things to round out the number of what items I had. And so I'm throwing this one in here into the mix. It is the Dollie pin clothesline and pin set. So it is the Dollie pin clothesline. You can see it's still in place. It's got the original packaging. It's got the original label. So the clothesline itself has actually never come out of its package. Unfortunately, 2 of the clothespins have been lost. So you can see there are slots for 6 clothespins, and I only have 4. So this is just a little set, a little play set that if you wanted to do more of a textiles, to hang some textiles to show, some baby quilts, some baby clothes, whatever the case. I agree, Michelle. It's just a very sweet, and Karen is cute. It's just the graphics are kind of cool. Based on that appearance, I'm going to say this is 50s. That hair with that little, the Peter Pan collar and the cap sleeves and the polka dots, I'd say 50s. But you guys might know. Might want to fine tune that. But again, just kind of a cool little item. It's only $5. So $5 for the little doll clothesline, clothespin set, as is with 2 of the clothespins missing. It's $5, and you can get it by giving me number 52. $5, number 52 for the little Dollie pin clothesline and clothespins. And that one goes to Carrie Vintage Girl 75. So thank you very much, Carrie Vintage Girl. And I want to say you've bought from me before, but I don't remember. So I would appreciate if you would send me an email just to be sure. So I make sure that I have the right person. A couple people's names have gotten very similar. And I will say I had to change the label on something that just went out because I had two people had the same name, first name, but they use a different YouTube name, and I mixed the two. So I'm always trying to be careful, but I'm just waiting for the date that really messes me up. All right, this is another finished needlework project. So again, vintage sewing, but this definitely goes into the vintage, but somebody else has done the sewing. So this one, if you looked at my, really carefully, if you looked at the thumbnail for my YouTube channel for this video, this is actually the backdrop for it. And that's actually a tip. You'll never be able to figure it out, but I will take pictures of some of the things I'm selling and turn them into the backdrop of my thumbnails. So this was the backdrop of this most recent thumbnail. So it is a needlework piece that I'm going to say, based on the X's, is a cross stitch piece, but it is on linen, not on the traditional cross stitch canvas. And you can see all of the individual X's throughout, except in the lettering. The lettering, they did it in an embroidered stitch. So this one, it says, "Good manners for boys and girls. May I have more milk, please? Good morning. May I come in? Good night, everybody. Please excuse me. And thank you so much." So those are the good manners for boys and girls. On the back, it has been noted on the bottom that the sampler was made in 1940, reframed in 1980. Notice quality of linen fabric. I don't know who this note was written to, but I think that is hilarious that whoever did this really wanted to make sure that you noted the quality of the linen fabric. So it's just a cool framed piece. Definitely vintage. It's saying it's originally from 1940. And I would say that matches that. What I find more interesting, it says it was reframed in 1980. And I would not have pictured this as a 1980 frame. I would have said that was more like a 60s, maybe 70s, but like a 60s frame. So it is interesting when people put notes like that on there. You can see the back has a little bit of discoloration to it, but the picture and the image itself, the linen appears to be in great condition. There's no discoloration. There's no watermarks. There are no issues to the linen piece itself. It is probably 11 by 14. I should have measured it beforehand. Sorry. It is 10 3/4 by 13 3/4. So it's just under 11 by 14. And maybe that has something to do with the age, although I think 11 by 14 has been around since the 80s. So I would say that this is custom framed. Like this, you can't buy a frame off the shelf of that size. So this must have been custom framed, which also just shows that it was a nicely done piece that people put some thought into. So it's not particularly heavy. It is glass, so I'll have to pad this quite a bit so it doesn't break in transit. But it should be fairly easy to find a box this size, and it won't be expensive to ship because it's not very heavy and it isn't that big. 11 by 14 is not that big. So the framed needlework is available. It is $15. So $15 for the framed needlework by giving me number 56. 56, $15 for the framed needlework. And yeah, Poodle, it's sealed. So they cleaned it once upon a time. But I don't know how you would clean it now, because you would have to break the seal on the back of the frame. So, it looks like I got another new name. So Pat Hall, thank you so much. You were the first person I see for the framed stitchery. So I will make sure it gets shipped to you in very good condition. Make sure you send me an email so I know where to ship it. And if you do anything to reframe it or take it out and clean it, definitely let us know, because I would be very curious like what you find when you undo that, something that's originally from the 40s redone in the 80s. If you do it again 40 years later, like you redo it every 40 years, how does it what does it actually end up looking like? So congratulations to Pat. All right, the next item that I have, this falls into an area where, if you watch my sales before, I tend not to like to do anything that has any damage unless there's something special about it. And so this falls into one of those categories. There is a little bit of damage, but I went ahead and kept it in the sale because I just think it's cool enough that I wanted to include it. It is a vintage sewing basket. So it's got the idea is that they are jade rings. I do not know. I don't know if Nate's here. I don't know how you tell real jade from fake jade, because this has pink on it and I don't know anything about pink jade. So you've got the 2 rings, which is fairly traditional for this style of basket that gets used as a sewing basket. You've got the different cords on here. I don't know what the cords get used for, but the rings are fairly traditional. You also have on the inside a fairly, some decent age to this lining that was stitched into it. You can see how much dust has accumulated into that. So this definitely has some age to it. Unfortunately, the way the lid attaches to the basket, it's very tight. And as a result, it pulled apart part of the rim of the basket. I have no idea how to repair something like that. So you've got from here to here, so about a quarter of the rim of the basket is still 100% attached. All right, Pat. All right, Michelle, what are you asking me? You know I can't watch the chat and run the sale at the same time. But I do see all the clapping and finger crossing. So repeat what you're asking, Michelle, and I will try and answer your question. So this one, the basket itself has been damaged. The lid is actually in perfect condition. The lid does not have any damage. It appears to be just the way, and again, it's like when I put the lid onto it, it is because it's because there's a lip to it. You can kind of see it right there. It's because of the pink, I just saw the pink jade comment. Because of the lip on it, the basket lid doesn't want to come off. So somewhere along the line, and there definitely is age to this, somewhere along the line, people just kept pulling it and it just weakened the basket. And unfortunately, it's got some damage. So Nate is giving us a lesson today. So jade feels unusually cold and stays cold when you hold on to it. Not a foolproof way of testing. Okay, well, it's 66 degrees in my house right now, and it feels cold. Still feels cold. Still feels cold. And Michelle, you're asking me if I have Spectrum. I don't even know what Spectrum is. Is that a product, or are you asking me if I'm on the spectrum, which is an extremely rude question? So I'm hoping you mean something else. I don't know what Spectrum is. Okay, still feels cold. So maybe jade, maybe not jade. At this point, doesn't really matter. I've already priced it. So you get the basket, which does have the damage. So I'm very much disclosing that there is damage. And then you also get the bag of contents that came in it. So some of them are a little bit older than others, but like some of it's Coates and Clark. That's not like super old. There's some buttons in here. I'm not going to say that any of the buttons are necessarily particularly old. So the basket has some age, but one of the items in here is the sewing kit from the Weston. So, not necessarily the items. Spectrum is an internet service provider. No, I do not have Spectrum. I have Xfinity Comcast. So you get the basket plus the bag of all of the basically the stuff that came in it. So it's just some loose rolls of thread, some loose buttons. There's a measuring tape is in it. Measuring tape is actually new. It's never been used. It's still sealed up. So anyway, I'm just kind of throwing that into the mix. The whole thing's only $10. So probably the jade rings are worth more than $10 just by themselves, assuming they are actually jade. And I'm sorry, Judy, if you're buffering. I don't know if anyone else. I am saying I have storms. I've been having storms all afternoon, so I'm not noticing. Usually I can tell if I'm buffering. I will actually buffer myself, and I'm following along with my phone, and I haven't noticed that I've buffered. So I apologize. So Gina is saying that she's not buffering. So unfortunately, it does sometimes happen. Try and keep refreshing. And sorry, Deanna, you're getting glitchy too. It may be on my end, but I'm not noticing it on my side. So I do apologize, but it sounds like some people are okay with it. So the vintage basket with the contents, the whole thing's only $10, and that includes the rings that are on the top. $10 for number 7. $10 for the basket with the contents. All right, move that out of the way. So that went to Deanna Dill. So Deanna Dill gets the antique basket with the jade rings. Okay. I mentioned in my Instagram post that I had the owl sewing, porcelain sewing piece, but I actually mentioned I also had another one. And this one is an old candlestick phone. So now this one, unfortunately, there is the hole in the top for the scissors. I never found another pair of scissors that fit well into this one. So I'm selling this without any scissors. But what I'm selling it with is a tape measure. So you've got this candlestick phone with a tape measure built into the bottom. It has the pin cushion in the center. It also says, and I didn't notice this when I first picked it up, it was when I was prepping for the sale, the numbers along the phone actually spell out pin cushion. So you've got this old candlestick phone as a pin cushion with the tape measure in the base. This again is not marked. They covered up the bottom and wrote, oh, I take that back. I thought that was somebody's name. No, it does say Japan. I thought they had covered it up. That's what's holding the tape measure in place. So I didn't realize. So it does say Japan. It's printed on there. I didn't even recognize that. It's got like a darkened color or shadow around it. I thought it was a written in name. So it's, as I would have suspected, it's a Japan piece, but it doesn't have the scissors. So this one I think could take a larger pair of scissors because the body goes all the way down and you could have the handle sticking up and it wouldn't be quite as in the way as the little scissors that I put on the owl. So you've got the candlestick pin cushion is $9. $9 for the candlestick pin cushion, and that is number 13. $9, number 13 for the candlestick pin cushion from Japan. Yes, their name is Japan. So we've got all right, we had Bremos Mercantile jumped in first. I'm going to give her the credit of the doubt because I don't have a number 14. And so BMOS, you had put in 14, meaning 13. So I'm going to go ahead and that's the first one I see. I know that there's some people that say like you're supposed to go first with the right number, but I know I don't have a 14. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that number 13 goes to BMOS Mercantile and she gets the candlestick, the candlestick pin cushion. And so Thrift, you just won an online auction for some Royal Copenhagen mugs. Thrift You needs to read the fine print. So if anyone wants to buy some Royal Copenhagen mugs at, I'm not even going to say a good price, just want to buy some Royal Copenhagen mugs, let's save Thrift You. Everyone can buy one mug and get her out of the hole of her $230. All right. I had another mixed lot that I had come across, and I considered separating it. And I started doing some research to try and figure out, like what makes certain things valuable and not valuable. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to keep it all together and let you do with it as you wish. So right out of the bat, you get a box, a vintage box that says a Messenger Original. Now, if you look really closely at that logo, it looks like it's an envelope, and then someone wrote pencils on it, and on the end it says $2.94. I don't know if this has anything to do with sewing. All I know is that this is the box that I got all the sewing paraphernalia in. So you get it. I looked, I Google lensed, I did everything I could to try and figure out what a Messenger Original is. I never did find it. So if you find it, good luck. You're better than I am. But what I'm selling primarily is the content. So inside is a series of, and this again where things get a little bit confusing on me because I didn't get into this aspect of needlework. It starts out with a series of what I believe are crochet needles and not knitting needles. But what's throwing me is there's a couple of the needles, like these all have little hooks on them. So, that's the type of crochet hooking that I'm used to. This one has a point on the end and then a flat thing in the middle. I don't see any way to hook anything on this. So I don't know what this one is for. There is a little, like a slot in the top. You can see there's like an X there at the top. They are metal. So they're vintage crochet hooks. Some of them extremely small hooks. So for extremely fine thread. I'll back that one up a little bit so you can kind of see it, put it in front of my head. You can see that one's got an extremely fine hook to it. Others have a little bit larger hooks in them. This is another one that this one doesn't have the cross on the end. And so it's another one that's flat in the middle. but there's no hooks. It's just kind of like rounded on either side. So I don't know if that's another style of crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those, plus a short one, which I'm not actually, this might actually be part of a sewing machine needle. So that one I'm not sure of, but you get that as well. And then you get a whole bunch of, these are English needles, lighthouse needles for crewel embroidery. These are quality needles from the Boy Needle Company. These are sharps, number 7 sharps. Then you've got Gotham Flyer. We've got number 1 sharps, number 3 and 9 sharps, and number 2 sharps. Then you've got another pack of Church brand Watson nickel-plated sewing needles, size 4. Got a cool graphic on the back with the Church brand. You've got a little card with mini pins, waterproof, rust-proof mini pins that are brass safety pins. So you've got this whole thing of safety pins that comes with it. You've got another envelope. This one, unfortunately, the graphics are almost gone, but it's another set of sharps. And then a whole stack of the Shrimpton Company black tagged sharps. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 6 of those. So all of those come together. So it's an entire lot of all mixed sharps, needles, sewing needles, and all of the metal crochet hooks, plus the Messenger original box. All right, just dropped one, so I'll have to remember to get that. So you get the whole thing. The entire set is $6. So $6 for that entire box of sewing notions, $6 for number 90. So number 90, $6 for all of the sewing notions. And let's see if I can pick that one up. Okay, I'm down here somewhere. All right, feeling blind, I found it. All right, number 90 goes to Deanna Dill. So Deanna Dill, congratulations. You get the box of mixed sewing notions. Going on to a finished project again. I don't get these very often, but when I came across this one, I felt like, you know what? It kind of was appropriate to bring into the sale. It's a little doily. So you've got the, again, I would say crocheted, but somebody used the term tatting earlier, and I'm not sure what the difference between tatting and crocheting is. But you've got the linen center, and then you've got the crochet stitched into the edge of the fabric. It's in excellent condition. There's no discoloration. There's no holes or thread loss or anything like that. So it is a small doily, probably 6 or 7 inches across. $4. $4 for the little doily by giving me number 10. $4, number 10 for the small crocheted, as Old Beth, Texas says, definitely crocheted little doily. $4, number 10. All right. Karen Dondelinger picks up the crocheted doily. Going back into some notions, this one I decided to keep separate because I know that there's actually a collector's field for these on their own. And so these are the needle cards. So these are 2 different but related packets. I don't know if they once folded together. I suspect that they did, that they were actually like a folder that has been separated, because the front has 3 women having tea, I guess, but she's holding one of the needle cards. And then on the back, it's the same 3 women actually sewing. So this is marked from the Shamrock for Everything You Need, from Charles Rock Road and Manchester Avenue. So I don't know where that puts them, but they're compliments of Cheap Charlie's on Shamrock. And then inside, unfortunately, most of the needles have gone away, but you still have the holes, and there's still a handful of needles that are available from these. So they're just super sweet. I have a feeling, again, that these were once paired together, but they were probably separated so that they could be displayed. So you get what you get. I'm not trying to attach them back together. So you've got the very clean front that says Fine Point Needle Book, And then on the back is where you've got the decorations, or that, not the decoration, the advertisement for the company. So these Poodle, the sewing cards came from, there's a place called Matthew Bullock's Auction House has a store next to it, and the name of the store escapes me. And so some of what goes in that store are box lot and auction items that don't sell at the auction house, and other items are just consignment items that, you know, so when I go to pick up items that I got in an auction, I always go to the store and I always find things. And I want to say this was in a box lot with some of the other sewing items that I've been having tonight. So yeah, so these, I think, Little Vintage Me 64, that's why I think these were luckily kept together, but I do think that these were separated specifically to be framed. I don't have the frame. I just have the two sewing cards. I think they're sweet, and they're only $4. So $4 for the pair of, well, for the two images, whether it's all part of one folder or two separate folders, I don't know, but $4 for those pieces by giving me number 54. So number 54, $4 for the fine point needle book, front and back. It looks like Blue Flamingo picks up the pair of needle packs. So congratulations, Kim, for picking those up. All right. I've got another thimble. This one's a little bit different. So this was actually significantly larger than the other ones. This is also one of the only ones that's labeled. So this is Grandma. So you've got this little sampler stitched onto the bottom of, you know, kind of looks like a barrel, sort of, but in a thimble shape. It's stitched on there. It says Grandma. It's all porcelain. Then you've got Grandma sitting in a rocker doing her sewing. It is, let me figure out how tall she is, because she's actually pretty tall. She is 2.5 inches tall. So you definitely have a decorative thimble here. There'd be no way you could use this for any sort of needlework. But this one does, like I said, it's the only one that has a label in it. And it does have an UNESCO label. And it says it was made in Korea. So this is probably getting into the 80s-ish, maybe 90s when you're dealing with Korea. So we've already passed over the Japan. So you've got an UNESCO labeled Grandma themed thimble. This one I'm selling by itself, and the Grandma thimble is $5. So $5 for the Grandma UNESCO thimble, $5 for number 49. $5, number 49 for the Grandma UNESCO thimble. And that goes to BMOS Mercantile. It's 49, the Grandma thimble. All right, I've got another pin cushion. This is getting kind of ritzy. So this is a gold tone product from New York City, made in the USA. It is a gilt metal, obviously not real gold, pin cushion in the seat of a low-backed vanity chair. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of damage that happens to be on the very back. You can see there's these little pearls that accent the rim of the pin cushion. On the very back, one of those pearls is missing. So this is one of those cases where, yes, technically there's damage to it, but this would be a case where anytime you display it, you wouldn't really be able to notice it. But I did price it accordingly. So it is an attractive, again, made in the USA, gold tone pin cushion, gold tone product, New York City. And it's $6. So $6 for the gold tone chair pin cushion by giving me number 42. Number 42, $6 for the pin cushion. And so somebody's going to send me an email. Yes. So my moderators can help answer the question. So as Katie said, if you claimed anything tonight, send me an email with your mailing, with your shipping address, and I will send you an invoice to pay. And then once you pay it, I will mail you ship you your ship you what you claimed. So Karen Dondelinger was first on the gold share pincushion, and so she gets number 42. All right, well, I got a few things left. This is an item that I originally had in a different sale. I won't say what the theme of the next sale was going to be, or another sale will be, but I felt I needed another sewing item here, so I came into this one. So this one is actually marked Williston, North Dakota. So it's actually a souvenir piece, but it is a souvenir pincushion sewing block. So on the bottom, it says made in the North Woods. So it has a stamp on the bottom. It says made in the North Woods. It is a piece of white birch, still with the birch bark on the edges. There's a corduroy piece of fabric sewn into the middle that would serve as the pin cushion, and then 4 dowel rods on the outside that hold the spool of thread. So I'll include the one spool of thread that came with it when I got it. So it technically is a souvenir piece from Williston, North Dakota, but it's relatively minor. You know, it's subtle that what it is. It's just a cool looking vintage sewing piece that would look great on Melody's shelf. And I don't think Melody's claimed anything yet. So anyway, so this is just kind of a cool looking wooden sewing block, pincushion and spool holder, and it's $6. So $6 for the sewing piece, $6, number 22. Number 22, $6 for the wood sewing station. Not sure what to call it. And that went to Melody's many miscellaneous. So she either got her internet to speed up or finally found something that she thought would look good on her shelf. So Melody picks up the sewing station. All right, more thimbles. I didn't mean to bring so many thimbles, but I have them. So these are wood. So these I think are really sweet. They're wood thimbles. They're not signed. They're not labeled or anything, but they're clearly hand painted. You've got the one that has kind of a orangish colored flower that kind of looks like it has feet. It's just very sweet. It's only decorated on the one side. And then the other one I really like is it's got this vignette of a church. So you've got a very springtime look to it with a church with the blue sky in the background. So this is 2 wooden thimbles, $4 for the pair. So $4 for the 2 wooden thimbles by giving me number 20. Number 20, $4 for the 2 wooden thimbles. All right. Sorry, Melody. It looks like you said you were trying to get some other pieces, but yeah, sometimes buffering is not our friends. I've lost on many things myself. So the wood thimbles go to THMercantile. So congratulations on that. The next is a lot. Basically, it's a lot that I created from finding these from multiple places. It's a series of pin cushions. So one of them is very traditional. It's the tomato pin cushion. They probably still make these today. I do think this one has some age to it, but it's the tomato pin cushion. But on top of that, you've got the homemade one made out of the upholstery fabric. Has just a little bit of padding within it that would hold your needles and your pins. So it's just a much smaller pin cushion. You have a larger one that is definitely a homemade product that sewed what looks like a mother of pearl style button into the middle and then stitched the floral design into the top, but not into the bottom. So some care was put into making this one. Again, has some age to it. You can tell by the stitch work that those are hand done because the stitches are not even. So when they created the petals of the flowers, that was all done by hand. And the way the edges were done, they stitched the seams. You stitched the 3 seams, but then you can tell which seam was the one that they flipped inside out and sewed together once they stuffed it. This is clearly a homemade piece. So this is showing up a little beigey on my screen. It's technically like a really dark gold color. So it's not yellow, but it's also not beige. So it's kind of a gold color. And then the last one is showing a little bit more true to color. This was just, I was going to say it's a pin cushion because it's completely embedded with pins, but there's not any real stuffing to it. It really was just a large piece of wool that they folded over and stitched diagonally across and just kind of made a flat pin cushion. So it's kind of like, I don't know if it would have at one time been a needle book that you could have folded up, but the way I found it, it was flat and it had all of these needles stitched across it with all of the threads. So basically this is just a mixed lot of 4 individual pin cushions of varying sizes, degrees, and aptitudes. Clearly this one was machine made. These others seem to be homemade, but you get the entire set of 4 for $5. Ooh, a thread catcher. That actually makes a lot of sense, Pink Elephant Parlor. I did find it with the needles put in there, but that makes a lot more sense because it's so thin that it would have been a thread catcher. So thank you for saying that. I would not have thought of that. So anyway, all 4 of them, 3 pin cushions plus the thread catcher, is $5. So $5 for the 4 pieces, and they are available for number 50. Number 50, $5 for the 4 pin cushions / thread catchers. All right. My last regular item is another set of thimbles. Sorry. I just ended up having a lot of them. So the next one is the last lot of the night. I still have my bargain bin, so don't go away. The bargain bin is coming up. Everything's $2, but this is the last item that I'm doing. So Thrift You of thread catcher, literally in this case would be a piece of wool or something like that you'd put next to your sewing area so that when you start clipping off loose threads, and you think when you finish a seam, you suddenly have like pieces of thread hanging off. There's the cutter on the back of your sewing machine that cuts those loose, and you end up with like a 2 or 3 inch piece of fabric or piece of thread. If you don't find a place to put them, they just go everywhere. So there are baskets that get made. They're usually made out of some sort of a felt or corduroy or something that will catch the fabric so that when it touches it, it doesn't just automatically fall off. So that kind of wool would definitely work for a thread catcher. So anyway, my last piece. Now we're getting into a traditional, an Avon thimble, an Avon thimble. This one happens to be dated. It's a Christmas thimble, actually, from 1984. So it says Christmas 1984, and it says Avon 1984 right in the middle of it. So you've got a nice piece of Avon, a collectible thimble from the Avon company. In addition to that, you've got a thimble with a unicorn on it. Now this is a bisque finish. So it's the bisque, it's not the high gloss finish. So this is, I like the bisque. I think Katie likes bisque. Misty likes polished, but it's got the little rainbow on there. That I would say this is probably a 90s piece, 80s or 90s piece. And then the last one is also stamped Precious Moments. It's the Precious Moments Bride thimble. So it has the bride thimble, the unicorn thimble, and the Avon Christmas thimble are all available as one lot for $5. So $5 for the 3 thimbles by giving me number 12. 3 thimbles, $5, number 12. Unicorn, bride, and the Avon one looks like a little boy and girl giving gifts. And yes, Laura, I did get a good deal on the thimbles. And they're, it looks like Karen Dondelinger gets number 12. All right. I did not see any takers on the pin cushions and the pin cushions and the thread catcher. So if I missed that, I do apologize. Just throw that was number 50. So if anybody had wanted number 50, that was the set of 3 pin cushions plus the fabric, the thread catcher. No big deal if you didn't want it. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody because that is the last piece that I've got for the regular sale. And now I get to jump to Trusty's Bargain Bin. So I've got a handful of items from Trusty's Bargain Bin. Only one of them is related to the theme for tonight. If you're new to my channel, Trusty's Bargain Bin was something I started relatively early on. It now only makes an appearance when I do a themed sale, and everything in it is $2. So $2 for everything I'm about to show. There will not be numbers this time. There will be letters. So everything's $2. You're just watching for the letter, but it works the same way. I only have one of each. In this case, I only have one of each. So when I give you the letter, it's the first person to claim the letter is the one who gets it. So I only had one item that was a sewing related. And guess what? There are more thimbles. So these I put these two together because unfortunately, this really attractive one is, I'm going to assume, was hand painted by, to me, that looks like Marva. I would have assumed it was Maria or Marla, but that totally looks like Marva to me. The thimble doesn't appear to be painted at all, but the flower design on the top, I'm assuming, is what was painted. Unfortunately, there's one area where you can see the leaf has snapped off. The flower itself is in pretty good shape. There's one petal that has a little bit of a curve to it that I'm assuming has some damage, but that's almost forgivable. The missing leaf is a little bit more obvious. So this one, I decided to go ahead and combine with the sole metal thimble that I had available. So if you put Marva's thimble, display it in the right way, it will look absolutely beautiful for it. You get the two thimbles. This one can actually be a functional thimble, and the two of them together is $2. So basically, I'm trying to accommodate the fact I still thought this one was pretty even with the damage. So I just tried to price it accordingly. You end up getting both of the thimbles for $2 by giving me letter G. Letter G, $2 for the slightly damaged porcelain thimble and the fully functional metal thimble. Now, the rest of the items are not sewing related. So it looks like Crafty Jackie got the pair of thimbles. So I will tuck that into your package, Jackie, and congratulations for picking that up. All right, the next one, these I wanted to get included in the sale because I wanted to catch them while the season was appropriate. So I've got a series of little pins. So these are not necessarily old. This one does actually have a mark to it. I think this one says Hallmark. And yeah, it says Hallmark. It says 1985. Sorry, I should have looked that up before. So this is a 1985 Hallmark ornament. You've got the little mouse in the acorn with the leaf. It has that style of pin where it's just like a little open clasp. It doesn't have the lobster or the clasp, locking clasp on it. So, but it is dated 1985. It is $2 for the little mouse in the acorn pin, $2 by giving me J. J is for jam, gets you the little mouse acorn pin. And that goes to Deanna Dill. All right. I will go ahead and do the next pin because I've got another themed, what do I want to say? It's another seasonal pin. Why couldn't I think of that word? Seasonal pin. So this one is a turkey. So you got the little turkey. This one, I don't see any markings to it, but it has the exact same clasp as that mouse did. So it's got that little open J clasp. So I don't know if this is also a Hallmark pin. I got them in the same place, so it's entirely possible. But this one, I don't see any sort of marking on the back. But it does have a nice pin. It's in great condition. There's no real color loss or anything to it. You just got this vintage turkey pin. And again, everything in the bin is $2. So $2 for the turkey pin by giving me letter S. Letter S, $2 gets you the turkey pin. And so the turkey pin goes to THMercantile. The last pin I have is a Halloween pin. This one is another one that I should have looked closely at the backing of it. This one says it's a It's a Carl Peace. Carl Placey? C-A-R-L-E-P-L-A-C-E Carl Place. There's a lot of stuff back here. Lehnan, Lehnan. All right, I apologize. I should have read this before because it looks like it says something like it says 1930, but there's no way this says 1930. So this again, it's got the exact same class with the others. You can see there's a lot more writing on the back of it. And I don't know if we can read it together because I couldn't read it. All right, well, I don't think it matters because it's $2. So if you like the $2, the little devil pin, again, that clasp makes it look exactly the same as the one that was marked Hallmark. So I'm assuming that all that stuff just says Hallmark again. I apologize, I didn't look it up. I had not to do as much research in the bargain bin. So $2 for the little pin, and the little devil pin is Q. Q for quilt, Q for the devil pin for $2. And that devil pin goes to Deanna Dill. All right. So no more pins, but I have one other seasonal, two seasonal items. Next one's a little seasonal item that I got. I just thought it was kind of cute. And I was going to hold it for a holiday sale, but I'm at the point now he keeps getting moved around. I'm afraid he's going to get damaged. So it's an unmarked figurine. I'm going to say porcelain figurine. It has the rough finish to it. So it has the color, but it's still a bisque finish. It doesn't have the high gloss. His antlers are in good shape. Her antlers are in good shape. I don't know. The antlers I think are for boys, but those are big doe eyes on that boy deer. I'm assuming it's one of the reindeer because it looks like there's a wreath around his neck, but it's the only one I have. So I'm not sure if he was originally part of a set, if he's supposed to be pulling Clarice. Okay, Clarice to me is Silence of the Lambs, and that's kind of disturbing. So is that Clarice isn't one of the reindeers? Is Clarice a character? So I'm not sure I'm familiar with Clarice, Michelle. So anyway, so you've got the little reindeer character, Rudolph's girlfriend. First of all, Rudolph had a girlfriend? What cartoons were you people watching? So we've got Rudolph's girlfriend. Maybe she's worth more, but for right now, she's a little cheap harlot, and she's available for $2. So $2 for Night on the Town with Clarice. And you can get Clarice for the $2 by giving me letter N. Letter N for Clarice, Rudolph's girlfriend. So I'm not sure again if that makes any difference of who would have made her. But no, I have never heard of Clarice. So congratulations, Clarice can be got by giving me letter N. And it looks like letter N goes to Vintage Conversation. So Vintage Conversation gets Clarice. All right. Wow, I feel like I'm totally out of touch not knowing Clarice. All right, so we've got one other item that's a seasonal item, so I'll go ahead and grab that, and I've got a couple more things that'll finish off the bargain bin. So one of the things you might have heard me talk about in the past is I did open up a new vintage booth at a vintage mall. And I'm kind of diversifying a little bit what goes in there, doing a lot of vintage kitchen, doing some vintage barware, kind of mixing things up. And what ended up happening was I found a great source for some vintage cookie cutters, and they were available in a lot. And when I took the lot apart to tag everything, almost all of them were vintage, but there were a handful that were not. So these are all tagged made in China from Wilton Company. So you've got the Wilton, they're still high quality because they're Wilton products, but these are just later. So these are Wilton made China. You've got the candy cane, you've got the shamrock, and you've got the star. Each one of them has the UPC label on it that says Wilton China. So you know that they are not particularly vintage. So they didn't end up going into my booth. So instead, I'm making them available as a set of 3 for $2. So you got the 3 available, the candy cane, the shamrock, and the star. 3 enameled Wilton cookie cutters by giving me letter X. Letter X for the 3 cookie cutters, and that is $2. All right. Now, if anyone's paid really close attention, you'll have noticed that, okay, and letter X goes to Good Juju Vintage. So congratulations, Good Juju Vintage. I think you are one of the ones that might have changed your name. So just if you send me an email, remind me who you are in case I've worked with you before or not. Oh, and Dallas City Vintage is here. Great. Okay, so the next item, if anyone who's watched my sales before and has been paying attention close tonight, I haven't had a coaster yet. I'm fixing that now. So we've got a standalone individual brass coaster from Montreal. So as a nod to my Canadian buddies, Montreal is one of my favorite Canadian cities. Not that I've been to a lot of them, but I love Montreal. So this is just, it happened to be a coaster that I picked up all by itself. So I'm selling it all by itself. It's actually really high quality. You can tell the thickness of this. It's actually a very nice weight coaster. It just happens to be a standalone. It's like a little lonely coaster. So it's great for something in the bargain bin. I can sell it for $2, worth way more than that on its own because of what it is. But hey, I only have the one, so I'll sell it for $2 by giving me letter W. W gets for $2 gets you the Montreal metal coaster. So W is Montreal. And I didn't intend it this way, but I just realized the last four items I will show from the bargain bin are all coasters. So I kind of making up for the fact. So the next one is a set of paper backed coasters. These are there are 18 3 3/8 inch cupkin coasters. I do not know where the word cupkin comes from. They're coffee coasters, the beverage coasters, they're made in the USA. This set is sealed. So this one has not been opened. So all 18 are still in here. So you've got probably the bicentennial look. I mean, from the age, I wouldn't be surprised if these are from 1976, but they're not dated. So I'm just, usually when you see an eagle like that for something that's somewhat vintagey, it ends up being from 1976. But so these are cupkins. So it's a napkin for your cup, as Michelle said. And so they're 3 3/8 inches. So they're still a decent size. So they can be a coaster for anything, but they are paper coasters. And they are definitely past 1963 because there's a zip code. So everyone's has learned zip codes came in 1963. These are at least later than that, which I'd have guessed anyway. But the Cupkin Eagle coasters as an opened, unsealed pack is available with the letter P. Letter P for pig gets you the Eagle style paper coasters for $2. All right, Melody picks up the Eagle coasters. All right, and if you missed the Eagle coasters, you can get into the same brand, the Cupkin coasters. This one, unfortunately, has been opened, so several of the coasters are missing. I think I counted 14 are left. So instead of 18, you get 14 of this style, which is kind of the cool, mid-century modern drinks coasters. So it still says they're Cupkin coasters. So they still hold coffee or, for your cups, but these actually show the cocktail glasses on there, which I think is just a slightly cooler graphic and a cooler aesthetic. So again, they're the paper Cupkin coasters, $2 for the set by giving me K. K is for key, K is for the Cupkin coasters, $2 for the open pack, which gets you about 14 of the cocktail themed coasters. And Melody picks up the cocktail themed coasters. All right, so to match your Eagle ones. And then the last set, and this, like I said, this was actually unintentional. So the last item I've got for the night that's coming out of the bargain bin is another set of coasters. If you watched a haul video, you would have seen these before. These are a set of 4 of those Thirsty Stone coasters. That is a war memorial that, until I just went to say it out loud, I can't remember where it was, but one of my viewers actually found the memorial, and now I can't remember what it was, but it is a Veterans of Foreign Wars memorial. I just can't remember where it is. I still think it's in DC, but you can see it's got the flags of the Marines. I think the blue one we determined was the Coast Guard. So you have, it's a Veterans Memorial wall. It's an identical set of 4. So you've got 4 coasters. So you actually get a match set in this case. These are really nice quality. These are those thirsty stone type coasters, so you don't get the moisture rolling off the top of it. So a set of 4 of the war-themed War Memorial coasters, just coming up, just passing Labor Day. You have them in time for Memorial Day. You can get them for $2 for the entire set by giving me letter U. Letter U, $2 for the set of 4 coasters. All right, I see people saying hi to Scott. So are we seeing Scott from Old Curiosity Shop? Yes, we are. Well, hey, Scott. And no, you can't have my piano, but I'll play a note for you. So there you go. That's what a vertical grand sounds like. That's not in tune. I'm sure my neighbors are thrilled. So, okay. So if you wanted it, it is Tiger Oak. Set of coasters was U, and that was the last items. So I ran longer than I'd anticipated because it's me. So of course I'm a talker, but looks like hopefully everyone found a couple of some different items to pick up in a themed sale. Vintage sewing wasn't for everybody, but hopefully those of you who joined us, you all found something interesting to watch. If you caught the part where I was talking about the quilting patterns, if you have interest, if you have a specific dog breed or cat that you are interested in one of those patterns, just drop me an email, let me know what you have, and I will let you know what I have. Again, that was from my old business with my ex-wife. I don't have every dog breed, but I have well over 20 or 30 dog breeds. So if you want any of those, just let me know. They may show up in a later sale, but for the most part, they're not technically considered vintage. So it was just kind of a little add-on for tonight. And I was glad that the ones I showed were popular, but if you want the dog ones, just send me an email to the email across the bottom, thmvintage@gmail.com. Let me know the dog breed or cat that you're looking for, and I will show you what I have available, or if I don't have anything available. So thank you all for tonight. If you claimed anything, again, send an email to that same address. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and thank you for putting your trust in a trusty huckster. Everybody have a great night. Check out my sale next week where I have 4 sellers, including Dee from Thrill of Thrift, Rebecca from Kitschy and Bitchy, and Kelly from Moss Stone Story Vintage. We'll have a great sale next week as well. Everybody enjoy the rest of the week. Catch Fatbird Finds tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern, and catch Jeffrey and Barb at 8 p.m. Eastern with their regular Friday night sale. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.